Volcanic eruptions were among the major disasters of the early Pleistocene epoch. Nearly 2 million years ago, the Earth's crust was shifting. This geological process was not a static backdrop. It created volcanoes, deep valleys, and a constantly changing environment. Their tools, up to this point, were still primitive. Older One tools, or Mode 1 stone tools. For over 1 million years, these were the simplest instruments. A cobblestone struck to create a sharp edge. These choppers were not hunting weapons. They were scavenging tools, used to crack open bones and reach the rich marrow inside. A high-calorie superfood inaccessible even to large predators with powerful jaws. The sharpened wooden spear was an improvement, but it was only effective at close range, making the hunt all the more dangerous. During this time, they discovered obsidian, volcanic glass. It forms when lava cools too quickly for crystals to develop. The result is an amorphous rock that fractures along a pattern called a conchoidal fracture. This produces an edge that is not merely sharp, but razor sharp. A well-crafted obsidian blade can be hundreds of times thinner than a metal one. It is the sharpest natural material ever created. For a creature whose survival depends on processing meat quickly, this was a monumental leap. It could slice through the thick hide of a large animal, something that teeth and nails could not pierce. It could separate joints, strip flesh from bone. The hand wielding the tool and the brain craving energy were co-evolving, locked in a positive feedback loop that would reshape the destiny of an entire species. This meal was not merely for sustenance. It was the foundation of community. Sharing food, especially scarce, valuable resources like meat, forged deep bonds. It strengthened relationships, created obligations, and built trust. Around the fire, knowledge was passed down, skills were taught, and emotional ties deepened. But the Rift Valley was not a peaceful place. It was a geological war zone. Volcanic eruptions struck without warning. It wasn't just lava. The real danger came from columns of ash and toxic gases hurled miles into the atmosphere. When those columns collapsed, they formed pyroclastic flows, superheated clouds of ash, rock, and gas, moving faster than a storm, incinerating everything in their path. Lava moved more slowly, but it was unstoppable, burying the landscape beneath molten rock. This was natural selection in its purest, most brutal form. Physical strength meant nothing before a volcano. Only luck, adaptability, and intelligence could ensure survival. The event was an evolutionary bottleneck, wiping out populations, destroying ecosystems. Survivors were not simply continuing their old lives. They were cast into a new, devastated world. Their home was gone. Water was poisoned. Food sources buried. All their accumulated knowledge of the land, where to find berries, where to hide, where the rivers ran, had become useless. They weren't merely fleeing fire, they were entering a new struggle for existence. Those who survived would be the ones most capable of problem solving, cooperation, and innovation. This catastrophe, while annihilating the present, was forcing evolution to prepare for the future. The disaster continued in an invisible form. The air was filled with fine volcanic ash, tiny shards of glass that tore lung tissue when inhaled. Even worse were the toxic gases. These gases, heavier than air, flowed down into valleys and depressions like water, forming invisible lakes of air that could not be breathed. Inhaled, they reacted with moisture in the lungs to form acid, burning tissue and suffocating within minutes. The elderly, their lungs already weakened, were the first to fall. From a purely survivalist perspective, such an individual was a burden, unable to reproduce, hunt, or gather. Dipping a piece of hide in water and pressing it over the elder's face was not an instinctive act. It was an act of intelligence and empathy. It required a complex chain of cognitive steps. The decision to carry the frail elder on one's back was even more profound. It went against the individual logic of survival of the fittest. The male was expending precious calories, slowing himself in the group, increasing everyone's risk. This act marked the dawn of compassion, the ability to act for the benefit of another, even at personal cost. Their bonds were no longer limited to kinship or immediate reciprocity. They now extended to every individual, even the weakest. post-disaster landscape was alien. The river ahead of them was no longer water. It was likely a lahar, a volcanic mudflow. Hot ash mixed with water to form a current as dense as wet concrete. It could move at terrifying speed, trapping and dragging down anything that fell into it. It was an absolute barrier. They were trapped, starvation behind them, an impassable wall ahead. This was not just a raft. It was the first mode of transport. It was the birth of engineering. In the history of stone tools, there is a distinction between Mode 1 technology, older one, breaking stones for sharp edges, and Mode 2, Aculean. Shaping stone according to a mental template, like a hand axe. Their tools might still be Mode 1, but their minds were already working at Mode 2. They were imposing an abstract idea onto raw material to create something entirely new. The river, once a boundary, became a pathway. An ecological barrier was conquered. The ability to cross large bodies of water would later enable hominin species to migrate out of Africa and spread across continents. Geography no longer confined them. By lashing dead logs together, they had created a vehicle, a means to explore and conquer the world. They had survived the catastrophe, crossed barriers, but now faced their oldest enemy, hunger. In this new world, prey was faster and more alert. The simple wooden spear had reached its limits. The need for a more effective hunting weapon was urgent. The next discovery came by accident, noticed by a curious mind. Striking stones together was a familiar act. The collision did more than break rock. It shaved off microscopic iron fragments. Friction and sudden exposure to air ignited them. We call them sparks.
Consumed by rage.
Fire was no longer something found, it was something made. This marked the shift from passive to active control. Male's brain, now trained to see systems, combined two separate objects, a broken spear shaft and a sharp obsidian flake. Tying them together with animal sinew marked the birth of the composite tool. This was Mode 3 technology Mousterian, requiring the skill of hafting, a complex process. From scavenger to predator, this hominin was now equipped to become a top hunter. They had mastered fire and created compound weapons. They were no longer merely adapting to the world, they were beginning to shape it. Hunger drove them to act, but now they acted with entirely new tools, both physical and mental. They had new weapons, stone-tipped spears, and new tools, fire. More importantly, they had strategy. This hunt was not a chaotic chase. It was a calculated plan, proof of advanced cognition. This was cooperation at a whole new level. Not just teamwork in lifting logs, but a coordinated sequence of actions based on a shared abstract plan. The group functioned as a single superorganism, a collective brain. The stone-tipped spear's success validated the new tool. Its wounds were fatal, causing shock and rapid blood loss, far more effective than mere injury. This moment marked a fundamental shift in the ecological order. The once weak band, through intelligent strategy, tools, stone spear, and control of nature fire, brought down a large and dangerous prey. They were no longer scavengers on the margins. They were organized hunters. Reliable, high-quality food was now within reach. The cycle of innovation was complete. Success would be remembered, repeated, and passed on. Culture had begun. Life had been prolonged by compassion and intelligence, but death was still inevitable. For most animals, the dead were left behind. For early humans, death had gained meaning. The female picked up a piece of charcoal and drew on the wall. It was not a random smear. It was the birth of symbolism.
As the volcano
Before this moment, memory existed only within the brain. When the brain died, the memory was lost. This drawing was humanity's first attempt to defy oblivion. It was the ancestor of all writing, all art, all recorded history. It was a statement. We were here. This one lived. And we will remember. Outside, the sky, long obscured by ash, finally cleared. For the first time, they gazed upon a pristine night sky. They began to orient themselves by observing the constellations. journey ends with the very object that began it. The obsidian, once a tool, a weapon, a firemaker, now, in the dim twilight, when wiped clean of dust, revealed its final property. It was a mirror. In nature, reflections exist only on still water, shimmering, distorted, imperfect. But the volcanic glass surface was sharp and clear. When the early humans saw its reflection, the instinctive response was to treat it as another creature, a rival, a threat, or a mate. But something deeper was happening, a higher cognitive process. The male saw the image move exactly as he did. He touched his face. The image did the same. This was the moment of realization. That is me. This was the birth of self-awareness, the moment the mind recognized itself as a separate entity. It was the genesis of the I,